All right. Good evening, everybody. You are welcome again to our online classes for the Sustainable Youth Led Agronomy Knowledge Transfer. And our goal is to transfer knowledge, to transfer the right knowledge to young persons that are into agriculture. So this is a movement of young persons that are training the upcoming generations on good agricultural practice, whether you are doing open field, whether you are into soilless, you are into greenhouse. This is a platform where you get to learn modern agricultural practice. And today we are going to be discussing on common diseases that affect vegetable production. Now, last week we talked about insect pests. Insect pests are one of the so when we started this class, if you go to our previous classes are on YouTube. You can follow our previous classes on our YouTube channel, Sustainable Youth Led Agronomy Knowledge Transfer. That's the name of our YouTube channel. So you can go there and watch our previous video. So we started with abiotic and biotic factors that can affect every crop production. So today we are going to discuss, last week we started discussing some of the biotic factors, that is the insect that can affect your crop production. We talked about aphid, we talked about white flies, we talked about leaf borer, we talked about so many of them. You can refer to our previous classes on our YouTube channel. You can go and watch to learn what we did the last time. So today we'll be discussing the common disease that will affect your production. Now, there are a lot of disease that can affect your crop production. A lot of disease. In fact, if we start even discussing the disease, we may not even stop the class today. There are so many. But today we are going to strictly stick to the common ones that you can easily experience. So the first thing is, what is a disease? We need to understand what is a disease before we dive into the topic. We need to know what can disease do? So first of all, we need to know that disease is an abnormality in the structure and the function of a plant caused by a continuous irritating factor, that is a causal agent or a pathogenic agent. This means that contrary to an injury, it is a process that it is not a process that appears instantaneously. Now, for diseases, they don't appear instantly. Disease is a continuous process. It's a continuous process, and every disease is usually caused by an agent. So there are two broad categories of disease. We have infectious disease and we have non-infectious disease. That is biotic disease and abiotic disease. I can easily say disease that are caused by living organisms and disease that are caused by non-living organisms, that non-living things. Those are the abiotic infectious diseases. Most times we don't call them disease, but we just group them as, because they are abnormally, that is why we just say, okay, let's put them in the place of disease. Now, for any disease to affect your plant, for you to say this is a disease, there's what we call disease triangle. This disease triangle is very, very important. This is the disease triangle. It is very, very important when it comes to crop production. Now, for any disease triangle to be complete, there must be a susceptible host. There must be a host, that is the plant you are growing is the host of the disease. There must be a pathogen, that is the causal agent, an agent that is causing this disease. And lastly, there must be a favorable environment for this pathogen to thrive in. So if, for example, there is no susceptible heat, there will no way disease will be possible. If there is no pathogen, there will be no disease. If the environment is unfavorable for the pathogen to grow, that is, disease will not occur. So first of all, we have various type of diseases. We have bacterial diseases, we have fungal disease, and we have viral diseases. So first of all, I will talk about bacterial disease, and we have so many of them. So the first one I will be discussing is called Bacterial Canker, and the pathogenic agent is called Clavibacter michiganensis. So what it does is, If this particular pathogen affect your plant, you start seeing leaf edge scorch like this on the leaves of your plant. This is what you start seeing. Another thing you start seeing is upward coiling of the leaves, just like this. You start seeing bird eye symptom on the fruit of your plant. That is definitely bacterial canker has affected your plant. Now, bacterial canker almost look like a potassium deficiency, but it is not potassium deficiency because you will see other symptoms. Now, what are the conditions for its development? Like I said, every disease need a right condition for it to strive. So it needs a warm temperature, let's say from 24 degrees to 32 degrees Celsius, warm temperature, high humidity, rain splash and wounds. Now, high humidity, for example, if in the night there is this cold, remember humidity is the moisture that is available in the air. So if there is high humidity, such like let's say the harmattan period, this disease will likely spread because it is warm and there is high humidity. Now, how can this disease spread? It can spread by infected seed. That is, for example, you use this let's say you want to plant F2, that is second generation. You bought tomato, pepper or any of this fruit from the market, then you remove the seed that you want to plant it, and unknowing to you that particular plant, it has this bacterial canker. If you plant it, there's every tendency that you have this bacterial canker. Also, seedlings, they can affect seedlings, they can come in water splash and they can be in the tools and plant debris. That is the tools you are using to work. These bacteria, they can be inside the fruit, the tool. So how can you prevent this? You can prevent it by using clean seed, have a good nursery hygiene, avoid overhead irrigation, that is wetting the leaves of your plant. Pouring water on the leaves of your plant can lead to this bacterial canker, so you have to avoid it. You have to remove debris. For example, let's say you do a particular production, you have to remove the debris properly, because if you do not remove it, some of these pathogens, they are living things, they will still be there, and when you plant a new set of crop, they will start attacking you. So for the treatment, first of all, you remove the infected plant or the infected leaf. You remove it, then you apply copper spray to protect the healthy ones, and you disinfect your tools regularly. So I'll move to the next one, also known as bacterial leaf spot. Now, bacterial leaf spot, this is one peculiar disease that affects pepper, it affects tomato, pepper and tomatoes a lot. It affect them a lot. I think it also affect potato and some other Solanaceae family crop. Now, the symptoms is you will start seeing small brown or black spot on the leaves and yellow halo. After you see that, you start seeing that, and for bacterial spot, you observe that it's kind of soft, it's kind of water soaked. That is even the symptoms for almost all bacterial diseases. What you notice is your leaf will start dropping. In the farm here, I think we had issues with bacterial leaf spot for habanero pepper especially. Most habanero peppers and those that did bell pepper in net house, they were suffering from this bacterial leaf spot. Now, what are the conditions for its development? You have warm and wet conditions, rain splash. So when there is rainfall, this disease tends to attack plants. Then it can spread via infected seed, water splash or tools. How can you prevent it? You can prevent it by using clean seed, avoid overhead irrigation and have a good spacing. There should be good spacing. That is why you don't need to overcrowd your plant. There should be enough aeration so that air will be flowing through your plant properly. Now, for the treatment, you can use copper spray, then you remove infected leaf and sanitize your tools very well. Bacterial speck, this is another one that is still common too. You start seeing dot in the fruit and the leaves of your plant, just like the way it is on this screen. You start seeing them, and it is usually favored by, those ones, they were favored by warm weather, but this one is cool weather, cool plus wet weather. So if the weather is cool, That is when this bacterial speck, you see it a lot. And they can be transferred through seed, rain splash, and contaminated equipment. And what you can do to prevent it is use a clean seed, proper spacing, and avoid overhead watering. And for the treatment, you can use copper bactericide and remove the infected debris. Bacterial wilt. Now this bacterial wilt, I call it the oga kpatakpata of them all. This bacterial wilt, personally, it has dealt with me. I have a very, very ugly experience with bacterial wilt, also known as, it's caused by a pathogenic agent called Ralstolia solanacerium. Now this bacterial wilt, the funny thing is, you have an healthy plant, all of a sudden, maybe in the morning the plant will be healthy, then when you come in the evening, the plant is just wilting like this. You just see your plant, everything down like this. You wonder, what is going on? You will check, the plant is getting enough water, is getting everything, but it's like this. It's as a result of bacterial wilt. Tomato farmers suffer from bacterial wilt a lot. In fact, if you can if you can have a bacterial wilt free soil, your production for tomato, at least you have greater chance of having good production for tomato. But if your soil is very susceptible, it has enough of this Gastonia, there's no way you can grow tomato. That is why sometimes some people dey employ the use of grow bags or soilless medium. Now with the use of soilless medium, you will not be suffering from this Ralstonia, except it is in the water. Now most times it is spread through infected soil, water, tools, and the root. The prevention for this particular bacterial wilt is to use resistant variety, is for you to do crop rotation and use clean water, because water can be a source of this bacterial wilt. And for the treatment, I am sorry to tell you that there is no cure for bacterial wilt. So far so good, there have not been cure for bacterial wilt. Once you see anyone, it's better you uproot it, you try to solarize your soil and improve drainage. There is no cure for bacterial wilt. What you can do is to get a resistant variety, a variety that is very resistant to bacterial wilt. That is what you can do to prevent this. Another is bacterial stem rot. So when bacterial stem rot affect your plant, you start seeing something like this. The stem will be rotting. You see brown things like this, brown lesions like this. When you open the stem, this is exactly what you will see. And they are caused by water splash, wound, and dirty tools. So for bacterial diseases, most times they are caused by water splash, wounds, or the use of infected tools. So I'll be moving to fungal diseases. But before I move to fungal diseases, there are some things that you need to understand, that for bacterial diseases most times they don't have cure. What you do mainly is to prevent them. And what can you use to prevent them? You use copper based fungicide, or copper based bactericide, or copper based fungicide. Now the thing is, some of dis copper based fungicide, dey don't even work against dis bacteria. When you start using it, you discover dat the fungicide is not even working, because so far so good, it is only copper oxychloride fungicide that has been effective against dis bacterial disease. Although sometimes copper 2 oxide or some copper oxide dey do work for prevention, but if they've attacked your plant, most times you cannot recover them. So I will move to fungal diseases. Early blight. Early blight. So early blight is one fungal disease that is very common when you are growing tomato, especially tomato. When you start growing tomato, you start seeing early blight, and it's caused by Atanera solani. So you see brown spot with concentric leaf, or you can say target spot, yellowing, defoliation, stem lesions, or fruit rot. That is what you will see, like on the pictures here. This is what you start seeing. Now for fungal disease, fungi dey have spores that is dispersed in the air. So wind is one of the one of the things that carries these fungal diseases. Although most of them, the fungal disease tend to spread during the rainy season. When there is rainfall, that is when you start seeing a lot of fungal disease. So for you to treat this, prevention of this early blight is for you to have crop rotation, do crop rotation. If you plant, let's say Solanaceae family, let's say you are doing open field, do not plant another Solanaceae family. What you can do is you plant maize, you do crop rotation. Ensure you remove the debris, allow good spacing, and try to use resistant variety. Now the treatment, you can simply apply fungicide, that has mancozeb or chlorothalonil as the active ingredient. Cercospora leaf spot. Now dis Cercospora leaf spot is a fungal disease. We also call it frog eye, because if you observe, you see that the eyes, the spot, they are looking like the eyes of a frog. That is what we call it, frog eye too. So it attacks tomato, bell pepper and habanero pepper. Especially for bell pepper, you even see, even under a screen house, even in a greenhouse, sometimes you see this Cercospora leaf spot. But so far so good. Dis Cercospora leaf spot, with my experience with it, once you spray a fungicide, once you spray something like mancozeb, you spray azostrobin, you spray picrastrobin and the other strobin family, e can easily cure it. What you do is just remove the infected leaves and spray mancozeb to prevent it from going to the other ones. So fruit rot. Fruit rot, dis is a fungal disease. I know many of us would have seen something like dis, would have seen or dis type of tomato in the market. It's as a result of fruit rot. And most times dis fruit rot, they are caused by rain splash, contaminated soil, infected fruit, tools and the handling. Now the tools can easily spread dis disease to the fruit of your plant. So what you can do, you can simply apply fungicide, dat is mancozeb and chlorothalonil, and you remove the infected fruit. First of all, when you are treating any fungal disease, bacterial disease, the ones that is affected, you cannot really cure it, you cannot bring them back. What you do is you remove the leaves or the fruit, you spray the plant so that it will prevent the bacteria or the fungi from spreading to the next one. So Cercospora leaf mold. You know, we discussed Cercospora leaf spot. This one is a leaf mold. This one is different from leaf spot, and it's usually favoured by high humidity, overcrowding and poor ventilation. It is spread by spores by wind, splash and infected debris. So what can prevent this one is you have to reduce humidity, because humidity, when there is too much moisture in the air, it's the one that normally makes this Cercospora leaf spot, it increase its spread. So you have to reduce humidity. For those that are using a completely controlled environment, you reduce humidity by increasing temperature, have good spacing, prune lower leaves and rotate crops. So you have to prune lower leaves, let there be proper aeration in your field. So what you can use as treatment, you can use because mancozeb is kind of a broad spectrum fungicide. You can use mancozeb, you can use azostrobin, or you can use copper sprays too. So Septoria leaf spot. Septoria leaf spot is also like every other leaf spot. When you Septoria leaf spot affect your plant, you start seeing small brown spot with dark borders. Then you see yellow inside, or inside and outside the spot, just like these leaves. And the funny thing is, when this thing attack your plant, before you the next thing you see is the plant will start losing its leaves. And when it start losing its leaves, there will not be enough the plant will not have enough leaves for photosynthesis. And when there is no photosynthesis, remember the definition of photosynthesis, where plants manufacture their food with the help of sunlight. Now if your plant cannot absorb sunlight, there's no way it's going to manufacture fruit. And if there is no fruit, that is a failed production. So powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is one fungal disease that affect cucumber, tomato and a little bit of pepper, but is very common in cucumber and tomato, especially when you are growing in the dry season. So you start seeing white powdery patches on the leaves just like this. You start When you touch it, you see the powdery patches, and if for example you touch it and you move and you touch another leaf, you start spreading it. So what you can do is what you can do to prevent it is to have a good ventilation system, have proper spacing and use a resistant variety, and also avoid excess nitrogen fertilizer. So the treatment for this, you can use sulphur to treat it. You can use various systemic fungicides such as azostrobin, piclostrobin and carbendazim and others. You can use them to treat this particular disease. Damping off. This damping off is very common for those that are into seedling production. You start seeing that the seedlings, they will be like this. It's caused by a pythium or rhizotona. So what you start seeing is you see elongate rot in the seedlings like this. Once you start seeing this, know that damping off is affecting your seedlings, and it is usually common when you overwater, when you start overwetting your seedling, overwetting, and you do not allow it to you do not allow the medium is always wet. It's not like the medium should not be wet, but when you overwet too much, you introduce this disease to your medium. And what you can do is you can use a sterile medium, avoid overwetting and have good ventilation. Once this thing attacks you, what you can do is you remove affected seedling, you treat the medium with a fungicide. Now I'll move to viral diseases. I'll move to viral disease. Like I said, we have bacterial disease, fungal disease and viral diseases. So bacterial disease are caused by bacteria causal agent. Fungal disease are caused by fungal spores. We have various fungal spores. While viral disease are usually spread by insect pest. So that is why it is very important you avoid insect pest around your production area, because they can bring viral disease. And the problem with viral disease is that they don't have cure. There's nothing you will spray that will cure them. Once your plant is affected with virus, it's better you terminate it, because if you do not terminate it and the pest in your there's still insect pest, and that pest pinch the infected plant and move to the next one and infect and start sucking on the other plant, you start moving the virus. So I will just be discussing a few of the viruses. Even the fungi, there are so many fungi disease, but because of time and the span of our class, that is why I'm just reducing it. So for viral disease, Ilarvirus disease. Now when Ilarvirus disease affect your plant, you start seeing something like this. You start seeing something like this on the leaves. You see something like this on the leaves, and the fruit will start having some more. So once you see something like this, know that your plant is being infected by Ilarvirus. Now Ilarvirus, they are usually they can be spread by mechanical injury. That is when you use tools that are not tools that are not sterilized properly. That is when you see a larval virus disease. So tomato spotted wilt virus. Tomato spotted wilt virus, what you start seeing bronze leaves, ring necrotic sticks and fruit deformation and stunting. So you start seeing your plant will be stunted like this. You start seeing this all these type of symptoms in your plant. When you start seeing something like this, for this one now, this one is a pepper plant, while this is a tomato. This one is a tomato. So once you start seeing something like this, you may be suspecting tomato spotted wilt virus, and it's usually caused by thrips. So thrips are the ones um, that transfer this virus. So what you can do is, if you want to stop it, you have to stop thrips. You have to control thrips. So you can control thrips by using a reflective mulch. You can also control thrips or manage thrips by using various insecticides. So when you use insecticide or biological agent, you can reduce thrips and reduce the chances of this affecting your plant. Then we have Pepino mosaic virus. So Pepino mosaic virus, once they attack your plant, you start seeing symptoms like this. You start seeing symptoms on the leaves like this. Yellow, yellow leaf spotting, just like this. That's what you start seeing. And they can be spread by tools. That is, if your tools are not properly sanitized, they can be spread by the tools of the plant. And also they can also be spread by insects too. The funny thing, like I said, for virus there is no cure. What you have to do is you prevent it. Once you see anyone that is infected, you remove it. Tobamovirus diseases. Tobamovirus disease. So this one is the same thing, just like the others. What you see is, you see mosaic symbol like this. Now when they say something is mosaic, that is, it has different colors. Like you see, this one is dark green, this one is light green. So that is even one of the common characteristics with virus. Once you start seeing mosaic symptoms on your leaves, especially the top leaves, you may be suspecting virus affecting your plant. Now for dis one there is no treatment too, and
èèyàn
it
mẹ́ta
can
ló
be
wà.
spread by hand, by tools, by soil, by water, and it can be spread by so many things. So I will move to tomato yellow leaf curl virus, also known as TYLCV. Dis one is one of the most common virus that affect tomato production. Even tomato production, it affect tomato production a lot. So you start seeing something like this affecting your plant. You start seeing that the top leaves, they are yellowish in color. First you would think it's nutrient deficiency, but it is not nutrient deficiency. It's as a result of this virus, and
mímí dà
caused by white flies.
Olódùmarè ṣàánú ọmọ
It's usually caused by
mímí
white flies
wá
called
mo
Bemisia tuberosity.
gbọ́
And there is no cure for this tomato yellow leaf curl virus.
wo
So
èmi gan
on
wo
the
inú
final
gan
thought,
tèmi mo kàn má nìtara mi
on the final thought,
gbẹ́ngàn dìde ń
early
wo mí nà
detection of diseases, it matters
mo tún jí
because if you do not know
ìgbà tó ní
that
kí
your plant is being affected,
wọ́n fẹ́ pa
there's
sámà
no
mi
way you
ó lọ gùn
can
mọ́
control it.
àtẹlọ́sà ti kọ́
There's no way you
lè
can control it.
Kenny, please mute your mic. Oh.
mi nà
Kehinde, please mute your mic.
mo bínú
Brother, can you please mute Kenny?
Okay. So early detection matters. Prevention is better than cure. Even for human being, we always use this statement that prevention is better than cure. And know that your plant speaks. Listen to them. How do your plant speak? Your plant will talk to you by the leaves. It will start showing you symptoms from the leaf. But the most important thing is for you to prevent any of this disease from attacking your plant. So I will be stopping my presentation here. If you have any question, please, you can simply unmute your mic and ask your questions. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. So I'll be welcoming questions. Is there any question? Any question or any takeaway? If you have any takeaway, you can just simply raise up your hand and tell me what you learned today. What's the new thing you learned today? Any takeaway? Mr. Altman, if I'm not mistaken, Olalekan. Please, any takeaway, anything you learnt in the class?
Sorry, I mean, I have a question, sir.
Okay, go on.
So, for bacterial spot and speck, what is the difference between the two of them?
Bacterial spot and bacterial speck. So for bacterial speck, I think I will have to go to the slide so that we can know the difference. Let me go to the slide. So for bacterial spot is kind of big. When you see it on your leaves, is bigger than speck. Let me go. Let me show you. Speck is more of like dot form like this. You see it dot form like this. You see it like this. But bacterial spot, you see the bacterial spot now, right? And for bacterial
You
speck,
can't see this. You can't see. Oh,
eh, you can still see it now. Can you see it now? Can you see it now?
yes, sir. You can see it.
Okay, good. Mr. Timmy, can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
So that is how you will be able to differentiate the two of them. And for bacterial speck, you have something like a bronzy, it will be shining somehow. You start see it shining somehow in in your leaves. Your leaf will be, how will I put it? Your leaf will be strong somehow for bacterial speck, unlike bacterial spot that it's soft. Hope is clear. Mr. Olalekan, you are raising your hand. You can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Olalekan, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Yes, yes, yeah, good evening, sir. So I really learned a lot from this class, sir.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question like bacteria with if we harvested my plants, then after I've done sterilization,
Mm.
is it advisable to plant another crop?
You said what?
Like we planted the tomato,
Okay.
so bacteria harvested it. So after we have harvested the tomato, then we sterilize the soil so
Mm.
that we prevent the disease from coming back again. Is it advisable to plant another crop in case of maybe if disease comes up again, or
So,
we can plant the same plant that we
so
harvested from the soil again?
okay. If I can hear you clearly, you said you did tomato and you discovered that there's bacterial wheat inside, right? Is it bacterial wheat or bacterial leaf spot? I can hear you, I can hardly hear you properly.
Yes,
Is it bacterial wheat or bacterial leaf
yes.
spot? Eh?
Bacteria with
Okay,
bacteria
bacterial
with.
wheat. So the, the thing with bacterial wheat is sometimes it is not your soil. Sometimes it is your source of water that is bringing that this very pathogen is in. So if the pathogen is in the source of water, even if you plant you do a new production, it is still going to affect that plant. So what you can do for bacterial wilt, you can do either two things. Either number one, plant another thing in that particular field, or get a resistant variety. That is the only two things you can do. If not, you keep wasting your money and doing seedlings, and you having failed production because it is already there. Hope you get. Mr. Usman, hope I answered your question. Usman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So do you have any
Yeah,
other
that's
question?
thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. I don't even know which I did again.
Do you have any
Please,
other?
I hope this is
Eh? Okay. So since there is no other question, first I
no
want.
question, sir. No question.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, me.
Okay. Since there's no other question, thank you so much for joining the class this evening. So we'll continue next week. Next week we'll be having a different topic next week, Saturday, same time.
Hello.
Um, yes. Is there anybody that wants to ask?
Àkókò mọ̀ tí mo ti ráyè yọ wọ́n sókè.
Okay. So you can unmute yourself. Unmute your mic, Kehinde Olaleye. So in the absence of any other question, next week we are going to continue. For this class, you can easily go to our YouTube channel, Sustainable Youth Led Agronomy Knowledge Transfer. Go to our YouTube channel and watch it. We also have previous video on our YouTube channel that you can watch. So our previous, every of our classes, we do record them, and you can go back and watch our videos. If you have any question with respect to that too, you can simply ask the questions. And
Hello sir, àwọn mẹ́ta
you have a question,
lẹ́yìn òde àlọ́wọ́ sọ̀ká ni.
so at this junction, let's call it a night. Good night, everybody. See you in class next week. So you can also invite your friends, tell your friends about the class and the value you gained from the class today. So at this junction, good night to everybody. Have a wonderful good night rest and a beautiful weekend. Thank you all. Good night from my end here. Good night, everyone.